evening, everybody. Welcome along to the Suffolk Non-League Show. I am James, he is Adam, and we're here. Monday night, we are live across Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube once again for your viewing pleasure, despite the miserable weather outside, despite the fact that there's nothing going on with transfer deadline day, because nothing ever happens with transfer deadline day. We are here for your Monday night enjoyment. I hope you guys are all doing amazingly well. Adam, how you doing, my friend? You well?
Yeah, very good. What a week of drama. What a week.
Since we've been doing this show, there has not been a quiet week with nothing to talk about where we've had to kind of make up or talk about headlines that we can kind of like fathom out of thin air. There's never been a dull moment, has there? Let's face
No,
it.
I don't think we're going to get a week where we can put our feet up. Let's put it that way. But yeah, big week, big results, big news, massive talking points.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are already aware of a lot of the talking points from the week because, my goodness me, has it been publicised well? So yeah, it's been great. But you know, we've I mean, I haven't been able to get to a game. We went to Debenham Tuesday. I wasn't able to get to one on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to getting out again. This week and seeing what other surprises are in store for us. To be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Evening, everybody. I can see you all pouring into the chat. I hope you guys are all doing amazingly well. Just before I get all of your hellos on the screen, I do have a few bits of admin to go through. You will see on the screen here below myself and Adam, we do have 2 new sponsors of the channel. We cannot thank you guys anymore for getting on board with the channel. It's really going to help push and build the brand, and for you guys at home, it's going to be better content, more ways of being able to watch and view the show. So we're really grateful that these guys have come on board. First of all, we've got GBS. Many of you in the SIL will know this company because they are sponsors already of Grunsborough Football Club. But GBS, just to let everybody know, is a family-run construction company in Ipswich, operating nationwide with over 30 years experience in the building industry, offering fire protection, diamond drilling, commercial building, health and safety, and asbestos removal. Their link is in the description below. You'll be able to see there as well. Starling and Locke, that is my old man, has come on board with the show. I'm absolutely buzzing. I couldn't believe it when he said that he wanted to get on board and help out. But again, link to his website will be in the description. He's a one-man band. It's literally just him, self-employed. Unfortunately, his partner in crime, Mr. Locke, passed away many years ago. So it is just purely my dad on his own now. But he is offering domestic work and certificates for people who are buying and selling homes. If you are interested in any of those companies, links for both of those guys will be in the description. Go and check those out because their work has made sure that tonight and for future shows is possible. We really appreciate those guys coming on board. Let's get some of your hellos up on the screen. Ryan Johnson is in the house. Evening, lads. Hope you're doing well, mate. Spencer Hume, evening, lads. Luke Gifkins, evening. Ben Moore, hi, lads. Hope you're both well. We are indeed, mate. Dean Cooper, good evening, mate. Hope you're all right. Michael Crowfer, good evening, lads. Evening, Michael. Good to see you the other night, mate. Really was at the Debenham game. Bourneville United Reserves, rather. Evening, lads. Evening, how you doing? Match day marketing. Evening, gents. How you doing, lads? You're right. Alex, evening, lads. Dan Barnard in the house. Good evening, boys. Ian Moyes, good evening. Mike Oakley, Venning, boys. Love it. So plenty of you absolutely pouring in. We love it. Again, normal bits of housekeeping before we jump into it. If you're watching this on Twitter, please give the show a retweet and let's spread this around. Let's get it into WhatsApp groups. If you're part of any football teams, any football clubs, get it in your WhatsApp groups and let's start spreading the message around. If you are watching this on Facebook, give the post a share. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. All you need is a Gmail account. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that when the videos do go live, you are the first to be informed about it. We have our normal sponsorships and we have our guys that donate towards the channel via Patreon and via Ko-fi. Again, both of those links will be in the description. If you want to help the channel to continue to grow like these guys have, Patreon's a monthly optional service. You can put money towards the channel, or Ko-fi is a one-off donation service. It really does help the channel grow. And Adam, I believe we have some good news about the podcast platforms that people can now watch this on. Part of what we're doing, and your money that you guys are putting into the channel is going towards that.
That's right. Yeah. So we're going to look either from this week or next, just depending on the ability to lift the audio off this actual video, will be to stick this on podcast, so you've got another option to view it. But it's also going to mean that we get out to a wider audience as well. It seems like everywhere we go, people are talking to us about the show, so it seems to be having a good positive impact.
Yeah.
On the local game, and it's getting people talking, and people are wanting to talk about topics. They don't just want to talk about results. I don't know if that's because I might share controversial opinions sometimes, or because it's just genuinely enjoyable. But
Adam, that's not right. You and controversy never go hand in hand together. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
So let's get it out on a podcast and give people another route. And then if you can't stay for the whole stream, or one week you miss it, or whatever, if video isn't right for you, then you've got another way just to plug in and go.
Yeah, exactly. You can have your headpiece in whilst you're at work, pretending to work, but really you're sat there at a computer, just occasionally type in and listening to us in your ears. So yeah, that will be available soon. We will announce details of it on Twitter, social media, etc. when that is happening. And once again, we have to send out a massive thank you to all of our club partnerships. Everybody who is helping promote the show, the clubs that we have on board at the moment, their names are on screen at the moment. If you want to get involved and be a club partner, all you have to do, as it says on there, is contact Adam via Twitter, and we will get you added to this list. We really thank all of those guys who are helping to promote the show and helping to promote the brand as well. And again, it's just about talking about non-league football in a more in-depth way, but we really appreciate everybody who has got on board. Now,
big thanks to Ben or St Mary as well. They're the first club that we've had that have featured us in their program.
Really?
Yeah. Cool. So we've got our advert in their digital program, and I'll be sharing that out tomorrow morning.
Yeah, definitely. That's really appreciated. Thanks to the guys over at Ben. We really appreciate that. A few more of your messages coming in on there. Evening, Alex. Evening, mate. Hope you're doing all right. Tony Stone, the hat, is in the building. SUFC, Ipswich, Sands United. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Adam, still missing the hat. I've bought it because I knew someone was going to mention the hat. I've literally sat here the entire time.
I got so much stick at Debenham when I turned up without a hat. It was embarrassing. So maybe next week, maybe I'll get a new one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to try, because Dean has said that apparently I'm a little bit quiet. So at one point during this, I will try and fix my microphone, but I'm just going to bring it in a little bit closer. I
think it might be right. Dan Barner's blaming Dean's 3310 for the volume problems. So
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We have got a few more of your hellos in. Stuart Spreadbridge, evening lads, and this is going to test my skills. Abdullah Abraham Akbar Raham Abdul Jabbar. Good evening. Abdullah, I hope you're well, mate. And Connor Ellis, evening, everybody. Now, tonight, we've got some big talking points we want to go through with you. I hope you all get involved, get your comments up, bring them up on the screen. We would really appreciate everyone getting involved. And what you guys won't be able to see is that in the green room, we have waiting a referee who is going to be on the show in the next, hopefully, 20 minutes or so, chatting all things non-league, and I can't wait to have him on the show. I will reveal him in due course. He is there waiting, so to make sure that we don't keep him hanging around for too long. Let's get stuck into the show. Let's have a look. Let's get into the first topic then, Adam. Whereabouts are we? So good news, first of all, an update from the SIL. Ransom Sports are now allowed fans back at their games. A great piece of news. You must feel delighted about this piece of news, because I wouldn't say it was just you, but your kind of words egged things on a little bit, didn't they? And your atting of the council kind of helped a lot, didn't it?
Yeah, I was pretty pleased to see this come through, to be completely honest. But equally disappointed when I then hear that Westerfield can't have fans. So we're not all the way there yet. I think we've still got some way to go under these COVID rules, but it's good to see that common sense is prevailing. It's just important to keep fans coming.
Yeah.
Like, I got a report through the other day, and like, there's 70 or 80 people that are wanting to go to these games. Like, let's let them in.
Yeah.
Like, to be perfectly fair, it doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 50. Like, how many people go. Like, let's literally try and get it to a situation where everyone can have fans. I mean, the reason given for Westerfield was that they can't have fans in a multi-sports complex, but we know that's utter rubbish. So it's getting to the bottom and getting underneath that as to why they don't want fans in there. And I think for Ransoms, for the council to react in the way they did, I think that's great news. And as they said, big football community, like, it opens it back up for them.
I don't know if you saw, actually. I am going to point this out because I think it needs to be said. Westerfield, I don't know if you've ever been there, Adam, but on literally right next to their pitch is like a hockey facility.
Yeah, the hockey facility had fans in it as well.
Exactly. So why are they allowed in an outdoor area, but yet fans are not allowed to Westerfield to go and watch that? Makes absolutely no logical sense.
It undermines itself, doesn't it? But it's important to get the understanding. And if it's just the fact that they don't want football, they see a problem with football, just come out and say it.
Yeah.
Don't hide behind a rule that don't exist,
Yeah, definitely. Jamie, I will try to sort this out later on, because there are some people who are saying that I'm coming out loud and clear, and there are some people who are saying that my audio is a little bit dodgy, but I'll have a look at that. Love to know what the changes were at Ransoms. To be honest, I don't really think there was. I don't really think they've done anything different from what I've been told. I think it's just that someone has then finally looked at it and gone, actually, it's not really that big of a risk as long as things are put in place to kind of protect it. I don't know. I don't really know what the changes were, but as Vinny said, the main thing is that we're pleased for them. We're just glad that it's all sorted and we now can have fans, back and watching them. And as I said, hopefully now the next big one is Westerfield. Let's get fans back at Westerfield now. Let's campaign for that. We'll put some tweets out after the show. Let's get, as I said, let's hopefully we can do something to change that mantra. Alex has said, was it not down to the school? I don't know, actually. I'm not sure.
I think they had a say in it, from what I can understand, but the reasoning they gave was that you can't have fans at a multi-sports facility. For me, I think there's just a little bit of underlying. I think there's a bit of problems underlying all of it where they don't quite understand.
Yeah, definitely.
What the rules are.
Hockey is a rich people's sport. It's the only difference according to Bourneville United. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. Matthew, evening, lads. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you're doing all right. So let's move on to the next topic of discussion. You wanted to talk about this one, Adam. Blake's goal celebration the other day. What's the big gif? Now, this got people talking online, and I'm just going to bring up the screenshot on here. The gif and itself has had over 33,000 views online, which is just mental. That's absolutely crazy numbers. Really is.
Top draw banter though. This gif was like, I think everyone can appreciate this for what it is like, and he has just got people on strings.
Yeah,
because they're all in the comments saying, "Oh, why don't you demand less money and come and play for a better team and all this stuff." Like, he is loving his football.
Yeah, 100%.
Like just leave him alone, because he loves all that kind of rubbish when you get in his ear. And every single person that goes in on him, he has got something to say back. And when he put some comment up when someone said that, and he's like, it's all right, I'm quite in, I've got my 850 quid a week, which I'm gonna make passionate love on. like, but also get a packet of pork scratchings or something as well. And I was just dying, like reading his comments, absolutely dying.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, because there has been a little bit of people who are a bit salty and can't take a joke, but a lot of our guys are really enjoying it. We've got 08 Bucks saying it's the best GIF. Connor Ellis, love it, absolutely love it. Bourneville United Reserves, the GIF is absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. State Bake doing his thing. The GIF was made up by the players, not Blakey himself, which is good to know. Blake's been trolling people since he signed for Wanderers, and he's absolutely smashing it. And Dean has said that the GIF was pure genius and great banter. I think it was. I thought it was hilarious. I've chatted with Matt before the Witten game actually, and he kind of expressed how much he's enjoying things over there. And as you quite rightly said, I think he's happy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And people talk about the level of the game he's playing at, but at the end of the day, he's now happy. He's enjoying his football. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the most important thing.
I absolutely love clubs having these gifts, though.
Yeah,
it's just funny. It really, like the things that you say, is just genuinely funny. And that one is possibly. I saw his one where he dressed up when he was at Leiston a couple of years ago. Like, I'd seen it ages ago. It's utterly ridiculous. This is possibly the best one that I've seen locally.
Brilliant.
So good on the chairman as well for like getting in on it.
Yes.
Like, you've got to give a bit of kudos for that as well.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, we liked it. People wanted us to include it, so we have. I hope I said if you haven't seen it, go over to Ipswich Wanderers Twitter page and go and have a look at it. It is quite funny, to be honest. The next one we want to talk about before we get into the topic around referees this week and some of the talking points around that side of things is about the fact that whilst pro football can't resume in its normality, what can non-league clubs do about raising the profile of their football club during this time? Because now is the perfect time to strike, isn't it? Whilst the iron is hot, whilst non-league is allowed to have some sort of fans in, how important is it for our clubs now to be talking about what it is that they're doing? Because we still have this case online where a lot of clubs are still silent. There's not really that much interaction in terms of social media. But for you, Adam, how important is it that they start communicating and just start doing a bit more to get people involved?
Non-league's never, ever going to get a better chance to grow than it will now. Ever. Yeah. Like, in this area, like, effectively, we've got a couple of big clubs in this area that can't take fans in. Cambridge, Norwich, Ipswich, they're clubs that rely on fairly big attendances. And I think it all starts with social media and the amount of clubs. I was going around, I did that little review at the weekend just to sort of test things out. The amount of clubs that just aren't using their social media at all, that are as high up as step 5, is mad. But what I've seen is since the summer, there's been a real shift to clubs that didn't used to use it much, that now using it quite a lot.
Yeah.
And like posting their goals up. They're getting people to sort of record play and try and get goals posted up. Just give more information on the squad and stuff like that. Get things retweeted around. So really try and get the interaction going.
Yeah.
I don't think we can underestimate how much championing like the use of social media at this time is. I wonder, I think anyone with an Ipswich season ticket gets in half price all season long.
Yeah.
That's on social media. That is an initiative. That's something to put out.
Yeah.
Like, and really sell your club on socials, because that's where the younger audience is going to be.
Yeah.
And like, historically, I think non-league football has been seen as football for the older man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and now's that time to suck people into it. And instead of having everyone sitting in their bedroom playing on FIFA every weekend, now that's about to come out. Let's get some ticket deals done. You've got room within, within the league restrictions.
Yeah.
Actually now suck a few people in and say, this is what we're offering. Like,
Do you think then that's, I mean, people don't like hashtag, but do you think that is one of the benefits of having somebody like that in the non-league scene with all of their social media presence and what they do on YouTube? They are a big pull for a lot of younger fans, aren't they? We saw it on their live match on the BBC, how many of their younger audience were behind the goal rather. People do slate them for a lot of things, but that is one of the positives that they do bring.
But I think what they've done is they've created that, and it's not massively difficult to start creating it. I mean, it all came out of this big FIFA thing they had online, so they had a following before they started the football club. But start recording games and putting stuff together, it's not massively difficult to do. Yeah. But they need a competing audience. They need more Saturday clubs that are prepared to say this is us and put themselves out there. Because I think as soon as you get local clubs that do, people are so interested in what hashtag do, they'll be just as interested in what somebody else does as soon as they lay themselves on a plate.
Yeah.
But it's that whole access all areas of the club that people love.
Yeah.
And that's why socials are so good. It's those little interviews that you get with the manager, like the GIFs, absolutely massive because it brings out personality in the people. And the club becomes one with the fans, and it's not just some faceless society anymore that people can't get into and can't interact with.
Yeah.
And if you can't take the opportunity, you won't, like I say, you'll never get this opportunity again.
Yeah.
To try and relaunch your club and get people in. But you may not get the attendances that you might be able to rack up now.
Yeah.
In a few months' time when pro football goes back. But you'd like to think you could still stick an extra 10, 15, 20% on the gate compared to what you had before. Because people think, I'm not paying my 30 quid match day ticket or whatever it costs to get into Norwich or Ipswich anymore.
Yeah.
And the rest. I'd rather just pay 10 to go down the road, have a few beers and a burger and still have an extra 10 quid in my pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the bit that you've got to work off.
Yeah.
But for me, if social media and growth isn't on the agenda of every committee meeting over the next 6 months, I think there's a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Some of your comments up on the screen now. Hannah Parnell has just said it is so important, and I think we've seen that with Lacing over the summer how much their social media side of things has massively increased. I hope you guys can hear me a little bit clearer. Whilst Adam was talking there, I switched my microphones around, so hopefully this is now a little bit clearer for you. So let me know in the comment section if that is all right. Ryan Owens said website companies are putting their prices up for non-league clubs to host their sites if they have multiple teams at the club. At a time when there is no money, it is a poor decision. He has followed that up by saying Picturo being the main one in question. I would need to look into that.
Site as well. That's the problem.
Sorry?
Like, Picturo is a weak site. But where they take advantage of the fact is that clubs don't just have web builders in the background. Like, if you gave me 130 quid, I could build you a site that would last on Wix for a year and would look better than anything that they could do on there. But there is an abundance of web builders that just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's £130 for a Wix subscription for a year that you could make it look professional.
Yeah.
And monetize it. Whereas if you have a Picturo site, it's just a big old template and job done.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So we've got a few more of your comments coming up on here. Matchday Marketing saying clubs have definitely used us to relaunch the club to maximize their exposure. And they have also put out on here as well in regards to the fact that they were the ones doing the Matt Blake gifts on there. So contact those guys if your club needs help promoting promoting that side of your game. Maverick UK, okay, if you have the volunteers, getting people to do stuff these days is a nightmare. I have to admit that is half the problem. Are you then going to have to turn around and say we're going to have to pay someone to do this, or is somebody going to have the know-how to go in and do it for free and just kind of gain as a bit of an experience? That's
double-edged sword. I think like now, again, with the football not being on, it's a good time to get young volunteers in that want a project.
Yeah.
But your club has got to be open to selling a project.
Yeah.
Not just selling a dream, selling a project that you let someone else take the reins for and sail the ship on.
Yeah.
Like, have them in with the committee meetings, explain what you want done and what you're happy with, but let a young person that understands it own it and build your brand.
Yeah, definitely. Nick has also followed up by saying, yeah, exactly. You have to have someone to do it, which I completely get. I completely agree that you do. You do have to have someone that's prepared to put that time and effort in. Let's get a few more of your comments up on there. Tony Stone, effective use of social media is vital in raising awareness of the club. Awareness equals sponsors, attracts fans and players to the club. Connor Ellis is sorry.
That last bit's important, attracting players to the club.
Yeah, definitely.
They want that now. I think they want the banner of it all, and that like non-league
and promoting themselves and promoting their game as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like they want those clips to show, and they want that little show reel to help them elevate their own personal career.
Yeah.
The sponsor bit that you've put in there, Tony, is massively untapped. Massively.
Yeah.
If you can get someone that will film your goals, put a little title on them and the goal scorer, that is absolute money for sponsors. Because as you've seen, Matt Blake's GIF got viewed 30,000 times. What if that would have had a sponsor's name on it? 30,000 people have seen your sponsor. Absolute gold.
Yeah.
Do it. Like it needs sorting, and it's saleable for good money.
Yeah, definitely. Connor Ellis has said, yeah, you really knock what Spencer has done a hashtag, but he has a bigger budget than most. But hashtag are bringing light to non-league football. And that's why I mentioned them, because as I said, they do get a lot of bad rep. And, you know, I've had my comments and thoughts and opinions about hashtag over the years. But, you know, from that side of things, you can't knock them really for what they are doing on there. Tony's followed up by saying nothing worse than clubs that are busy when they win and vanish when they lose. It's the last thing you want to do when you lose. I saw that so much during pre-season, and that's why I mentioned it at the time.
I think Haverhill got a bit of criticism at the weekend for being absent on social media.
Yeah,
from a few parties, and there's no point. You can't hide it. It's on the full-time website. Be honest. Be open. Publicize it, because every single time you put something out, it's an interaction. And what's more, you get a chance for your fans to actually have a chat.
Yeah.
Again, the top clubs will be listening to what the fans have to say back.
Yeah.
Regardless.
And do you know what? There's nothing more honest and open than just saying, you know, so many clubs come out on the weekend and just go, do you know what? We lost today. We weren't good enough, but we'll put it right next week. And I respect that so much more than clubs who just vanish. And I completely agree with that. Daniel Barnard has said, SC Dons and the Mighty Kitch have a great following on social media and love watching them, as I know it's Sunday football, but they are doing great stuff. Again, more clubs like that, the more people that get online, the more people that go along to games and record the games. Obviously, I know we've got Spencer Hume in the chat, who's the Essex and Border League. People like him are massive for non-league football. And it's great as well to see so many clubs now deciding to take things on themselves and recording their own highlights, because as much of it, you know, I'd love to be able to go to everywhere. I can't, and I can't record everywhere. So, we want as many people recording their own matches and putting highlights up, because, again, it just helps grow our level of the game so much more. The more people get involved and the more people that do it.
Kitch is a great template for how you should run it, though, and I think they're fairly well appreciated with everyone. Don't really hear people have a bad word to say about them, other than the fact they're obviously a load of very good players in the league that's not good to the standard. But that's what it is. But you're behind the curtain of it all. You feel a relationship with the players because the way in which they film it. Yeah, and it isn't difficult to do. A quick conversation in a car park from behind a camera and stuff. It's like, as already been said, it's finding someone that can film and edit it. But what you do notice with Kitch, and I think is one of the most important things, they never ever rush to get their content out. They film that, they do it, but it comes out the following week. Yeah, they don't demand it out the next day. It doesn't matter. The result has happened. Everyone again can see the result. The content can come out in a week. It doesn't matter. But build your club's profile on the goods of the content. Yeah. Yeah, very, very true. Cheers, Dean. Thanks for the feedback. I'm just glad that I'm coming through loud and clear now. That's the main thing. Matthew has said, I love how teams promote
promote their teams, like having player profiles, etc. And the team lineups as well before games is massive. And I think a lot of clubs are now starting to use that, which is great. Although some people are giving their formations away, so maybe just do your 1 to 11, lads. Don't give the game away before kickoff starts, because I have seen a lot of people doing that, which always does bug me. Ross, shout me out, boys. I'm a massive fan of Debenham. There you go. There's just shout out, my friend. Michael Crofer, very important Twitter, etc. for your club to get themselves out there. Alex Moss at Stowe Town does an amazing job. A very noticeable difference since you boys stopped Stowe Town TV. That's really good and nice to hear, actually. Well, I mean, not me. I was never involved in Stowe Town TV, but obviously you were, Adam. So that's a nice compliment.
Yeah, it's a nice compliment. It's a shame it had to stop, but it just wasn't viable at the time for me with what's going on personally. I can barely make a Saturday game at the best of times at the moment. So that just wasn't going to work. And I think with the way that I wanted to pitch that going forwards, for me, for the amount of work we're doing, I wanted it sponsored. And I saw an opportunity to do it. You stick up a goal of like Blake scoring a last minute winner, and within 2 weeks, I think it was only a very, very short video, and we weren't really sharing stuff around at the time, and it just very quickly got 10,000 views, and you suddenly realise you've got this great opportunity.
Yeah,
I think other clubs can take advantage of that. You look around the Furlough Non-Prem, so many clubs are knocking on the door of 5,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah,
it takes a very small percentage of them to retweet a goal, and escalates fast.
Yeah, definitely. A few more of your comments, and then we are going to be getting and bringing our guest onto the show. So he's been patiently waiting. I can see him. There. So we are going to be bringing you on in a few moments, mate. Hannah has said on here, I agree, Adam. I'm not keen on Pitcheroo. Ross has said clubs need the money at this time. They desperately do, and it's a great avenue, and one that hopefully, people will start to explore a bit more. We've seen a massive increase in it during the summer, which has been great because a lot of clubs have had time on their hands. We just need more. We just need a little bit more, but it is going in the right direction, which is positive. So, we can't really complain on that guy. Westerfield are in the house. Sorry, late to the show tonight if I missed much. At the moment, I think you're doing all right. It's the next topic, which is going to be interesting, which I can't wait to talk about. Alex, the fact that we're talking about hashtags shows that their social media presence is working. 100% agree with you on that one. Dean Cooper, Sean Watson of Crane Sports is fantastic with their highlights. Yeah, completely agree. Again, another club that needs a shout out, and another man in non-league football that does tremendous work. So massive shout out to Sean and all of the guys over at Crane Sports. Blake did not play that great when he came to Debenham last Tuesday. I thought he was all right. I thought he did well, to be fair. Tony has said on here, we share our numbers of hits and views with our sponsors and guarantee to retweet everything they post as part of their contract with them. It all adds value.
There you go.
And Dan Barnard has put on here, we do a goal cam at our Claydon ground, which is good to see. I'm not going to read out that name, but it's brilliant. Tattingstone's social media presence is excellent, pretty unrivaled in the SIL. Tattingstone are very impressive on social media, has to be said. Bournvale United Reserve saying we have a reserve side with just under 1,000 Facebook likes on our Facebook. If you want to like and share it now, Bournvale United Reserves. There you go, a bit of free promotion for you, lads. Right, let's move on to the next topic of conversation. We are going to be bringing our guests in a few minutes, but I want to set this up. Referees this week in particular have been at the centre of a few talking points. Now, I was very quick online to talk about the Stowmarket game being cancelled the other night. There was a lot of conflicting reports coming out of it, which was what was causing so much confusion from my side of it anyway. Luckily, the referee is okay. I believe he's been discharged from hospital, Adam, if the update was correct the other day, which is great news. Apparently, he was going back in for checks a few days later. I don't know what the latest is on that, but the main thing is that the referee in question is okay, which is the most important thing, because it was not nice to hear about what happened in the end. But as I said, there was stuff going on beforehand, which is what was getting a lot of people talking, which is why I put out the tweet that I did to say that it was a crazy game and stuff like that. The Bury game in particular was a big talking point, because if, for those of you who don't know, Bury's game the other night was postponed with 7 minutes to go?
Yeah, just the 7.
Just the 7. Their visibility, from what I have seen, and obviously pictures are a bit, you don't know what to make of pictures that get posted up online. I'm trying to think of a way of putting this. Thetford's game was called off at half time, and they allowed that first half of football to be played. And if you've seen the footage online, it is horrific.
I mean,
how were we allowed to get
goals, didn't he?
Yeah. So how are we allowed to get?
It was in the net.
Yeah. How were we allowed to get to halftime of that game, and yet we got through to 83 minutes of Bury, and then all of a sudden it's just then done? That's what is that is what I just can't get my head around. But before we kind of get into your comments on here, I'm going to bring our guest onto the show now, so we can talk about a few refereeing points. Adam, I know you've got a few things that you want to kind of talk about, and I want you guys to get your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Keep it clean. But I'm delighted to be able to say that today we are joined by Sheridan Biss. Sheridan, how you doing, my friend? You well?
Yeah, all good. Good evening, guys.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Yeah, all good.
Good man.
Thank you so much for coming on to start with. It's obviously it's quite like to have someone stand up and just say I'll come on and have a chat about it.
Yeah,
it's quite a big thing, because you spoke to me right in the middle of all of the turmoil of everything that was going on, and said absolutely happy to discuss things. And I sort of sat back for a minute and thought, absolutely, are you sure you want to come on? I wasn't sure if you would or not. I wasn't sure how the chat would go off with this, so massively appreciate it.
100%.
And that's absolutely fine. Like I say, cool. Just before we go on, I'm actually quite close friends with the referee from the Woodbridge Stowmarket game, and can confirm that he is on the road to recovery.
Good. That's what we want to hear. Let's talk about the contentious decision at Bury first of all. As I said before, we talked about it. Before, when we had that conversation about the Thetford game, and quite rightly that was called off at halftime, because that was just ridiculous conditions in. I don't even know how that was allowed to get to halftime. Where do you stand on the Bury side of things? Because as I said, pictures can be quite deceiving online. People were saying that you can quite clearly see the goal at the other end. Apparently it was called off because the linesman couldn't make decisions. I don't know if that is right. I'm not entirely sure. But what do you kind of make of it?
It's an interesting one. It's one we've discussed in our referee forums, our chats, where everyone's got their own interpretation of the laws. Obviously, the picture that was taken, I've seen online, and yeah, you can see from one end of the pitch to the other. But it's not all about that as well. You're working in a team of 3. You've got to support your colleagues as players do on the pitch,
right?
And at the end of the day, I've spoken to some of the referees involved in around those games, and they were saying that the assistant couldn't judge offside correctly, which was a massive point.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are unfamiliar with some of the rules in terms of how a game like that is deemed to be called off at that point, because we've already got guys up in the chat who are saying that the decision to cancel, which is utterly ridiculous, and a few more comments like that coming in. I think you were asking the question before we came on, Adam, weren't you? How is that determined? Is it literally as soon as one person says I can't do my job properly?
Yeah, like is it like
is that kind of then?
Is that a straight call from the linesman if he doesn't feel he can make that decision?
It's not a sole effort, no, because you're part of the team.
Right.
Consult with each other. The other when we had this initial conversation with you, Adam, I raised the point of usually pre-COVID, you'd give it a chance. You'd wait around, you'd give a set time. Yeah, let's give it a chance, see if it lifts. And then great, if it does, we'll crack on. But obviously, I'm not sure if some leagues have got the point in where they're saying, 10 p.m. is the cutoff because of these new restrictions.
I didn't even think about that until you raised it. And with all of the chat that's going around about the fact that you can get fined and everything, if there isn't clarity, there must have been a certain level of fear for the referee. Like, what do we actually do if we get beyond that point?
Yeah.
And that, I mean, again, like, we don't know. You can't be inside the referee's head without him being here. But that could have been a factor.
Absolutely. It was probably something that was on his mind.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it interprets those leagues because I don't officiate on the league that they're in. It's one that could have been set up pre. This could have been instructions that are sent out to secretaries or to referees on the league as well to say you must get your game done by such and such. Obviously, if there was a player injury and the time elapsed, what would happen then? Would the same happen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I suppose at some point some sort of call has to be made as to how long they're going to leave it and how many, because people were saying the fog was lifting and getting better, but it's very difficult to say like we're going to leave it 30 minutes max, and I suppose that's a very, very hard shout to make. I mean, one of the comparisons that people have made that we were just talking about was between the Thetford game and that one, and if you look at the Thetford game, you're like, well, how did that one even kick off? But that one. And like, I suppose like what people goes through people's mind is it's 5-0. The result is virtually done. Yeah. Could we not just manage the game and get it over the line? Like,
it's a fair point. Yeah, absolutely. It has to be a collective. Hence why I think there was a picture or a scene of somewhere where the referee's actually talking to both managers. And I believe the dialogue has to be the communication, which is part and parcel of an important refereeing style.
Yeah, I think like for me, like that communication that a ref has, like if the ref's got control by communicating with people, like you can't go wrong, can you? Everyone knows where they are. Like as long as you're chatting and you've got that dialogue, like no one's gonna effectively not understand anything. I think one of the things that probably has been missed off all of the chat on it is probably a bit of a safety concern that would have sat on it as well.
Absolutely.
Because if you can't make the correct decisions because you can't see them, then from a safety point of view, there is a worry that something could happen and you've got to make that call because ultimately the three of you are responsible for the safety of the players on the pitch. And in the middle of the winter, we see that happen all the time when it's up to you to decide whether or not the game goes on and if we can get going. So you can't... For me, like I understand that it seems like a ridiculous decision because there was only 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
But if ever there's player safety in question, you've got to realise why that decision would be made and respect that as well.
But I'm gonna throw something in there because I just want to say it because I know a lot of people are going to be thinking it. If you can see from one end of the pitch and you can see the goal down at the other end, and you can't see 10, 15 yards in front of you, or maybe however it is down the line to make a decision of whether or not somebody's offside or not, surely questions have got to be asked of that individual. I don't want to be that kind of person that chucks that kind of thing out there, but from what we've seen, it was quite clear that you could see down the other end. So if you can see down there, and yet you can't see kind of what's in front of you. Do you know what I mean? That's where I think a lot of people would be struggling with that thought process in terms of why it was cancelled. Can you see where I'm kind of coming from? Because that's where a lot of people are going to be thinking, well, that doesn't wash with me. I don't buy that.
The main issue is is you see teams saying, "Oh, we've got a pitch inspection at such and such time before kickoff today." The main reason for that is what is the main number one priority for a referee. It's not whether there's a foul, it's a free kick, a throw in, a corner. It's player safety.
Right.
And our paramount number one is to always make sure that player safety comes before anything else. Because like you say, if someone gets injured and you've said, yeah, the game's fine, you are liable as a referee, unfortunately.
Right. Okay.
Which comes into it.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, I just wanted to get that point out there because I know a lot of people will be thinking that. Sorry, I know I don't want to put you on the spot there, but I had to say it. Sorry, Adam, carry on.
No, I think it's a top point. Like, I think it's unfortunate that we saw two games with different levels of fog on the same night, and I bet you people wouldn't be thinking quite as one-way track about Bury if they hadn't have seen Thetford at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben Chenery, because he's my university lecturer, and he came straight to me on the day after. I had a good old chat with him about it and gave him some points, but he calmed down after a while.
Yeah.
Does the referee still get assessed on a game that gets abandoned by each team? They still have to submit their scores?
As far as I'm aware, yes. But at the moment, due to COVID, the assessor is not allowed to have any contact with the group of match officials. It's all done remotely or via Zoom or a telephone conversation the next day if it's an evening game, or the evening if it's a afternoon game.
It'd be very interesting to know if that was an assessed game or how the reports come out off the back of it as well, because you've got to think that Bury Town are going to be very, very aggrieved with what happened, and it makes some difficult conversations, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think off the back of it.
Absolutely. It's an interesting topic, and it's always going to cause this sort of debate, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What makes
I mean, Adam's comment on here, the worst bit about it was it had been worse for 30 minutes plus, then calls it off when it was starting to clear. I mean, in terms of that last point, he didn't give it a chance to clear.
Yeah.
Is there any rules about how long you can kind of leave these things for, or does it come back to the point you were making earlier on about the 10 p.m. kind of deadline now, or not a deadline, but kind of like, you know, unwritten rule, unwritten rule now that has been made up by people in suits at government?
It's probably that's one of the main factors behind it. If it was pre-COVID, then again it comes down to the communication with the management teams and the officials in what they want to do. In terms of it being worse for the 30 minutes beforehand, it all comes down to if the linesman has only then said to the referee, it's not feasible for me to do my job anymore. Because obviously at this level, they're not exactly mic'd up as such. It's more about getting the referee's attention and calling them over and having that conversation. They may have already had that conversation where the ball was dead or there was a player down injured getting some treatment, and they may have said, yeah, let's give it a chance, see what we can do. And maybe after the third time, it's probably, enough's enough, let's just stop for a minute.
Yeah.
There's been that conversation. Obviously, I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. You don't know how many times they'd actually had a conversation to say, should we give it a bit longer? Should we give it a bit longer? And then sort of said, you know what? No, thanks. Because, I think Bury were leading quite heavily from quite an early stage of the game, from what I understand. And someone's already put in the chat that it didn't look like they would score, Whittam would score 5 in 7 hours. So again, like a bit people that are there are going to be slightly aggrieved because of how poor Whittam might have been. But hopefully, the worst thing of it all is if it has to be replayed or something and then Whittam turn them over or something. Like, this story won't go away.
Yeah.
Hopefully, by gaining a bit of extra understanding of it and understand, even more getting people to think about player safety and stuff, we're kind of doing a bit of a service to, because I know what I'd be like, for goodness sake, we're 5-0 up. I just want to win this game and go get the 3 points in the bag.
I still am.
When you sit down and start to process it, hopefully you can think about it in a slightly different way.
I just think about things from a fan's perspective, and I can't help it. That's just the way that I am. It's the way I've been brought up over the past 30 years of being on this planet. I've never been involved in a coaching capacity, in a refereeing capacity, management capacity of any football club other than being a spectator and a fan. I don't know the rules of the rule book inside out. I just think about things from a, come on, there's 7 minutes left. The fog is going. Just play the game out. And even if this decision's been made, and it was made, and people are not happy about it, my thinking is common sense. Play the result as it was. Witten were not going to win that game. Award it as a 5-0 win, and let's move on with our lives. Let's not replay the game, for goodness sake. It's just common sense, everyone. Just, do you know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from. I may be completely different to people in the chat.
The problem.
Sorry?
Like, Witten would love for it to be replayed. So if two teams have to put in what they think, you're going to get one of them.
I don't know. With their form at the moment, they probably wouldn't want that game replayed. They get battered 7-0 this time.
Oh, dear me. So the other thing we wanted to have a quick chat about while we're on was straight red for Dissent for Stowmarket very early on in the game.
Right. Okay.
A bit of understanding because for weeks people keep saying we're not seeing enough sin bins. I'm hearing players talk. I'm hearing players swear.
Yeah.
But why do we not see sin bins being used? And why is it down to interpretation? Can you shed any light on how the sin bin is used by yourself when you referee, or even as a part of a refereeing team, and why someone would get a straight red for Dissent and where that trigger would be, perhaps?
Dissent is obviously interpreted in the laws as, well, not interpreted, is in the laws as by word or action. So by action, by applauding the referee sarcastically, throwing the ball on the floor in frustration, things like that in terms of gesturing ways of dissent. Obviously, dissent could be verbal. It could be ways in which you talk to the referee that he doesn't like. But we then have that fine borderline where you come into the red card section and it's under foul and abusive language. Now, there's that fine line and interpretation between every referee where you fall into each category, either the yellow for the sin bin or for the red. It's a massive point where there isn't that clear white or black. There is such a big grey area around it.
Right.
In terms of every referee and singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of...
Do you think it's some personal strength and barriers as to what you're comfortable with as well?
Yeah, obviously everyone's got a different tolerance level. Mine's quite high, being a teacher. I deal with day in, day out.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it's not too bad for me, but obviously for other people it is, he's done this, straight booking for Dissent or however you plead, but everyone's tolerances levels are different. It's making sure that you've got that fine line. In a team of 3, if I was the person who was the referee and I had 2 assistants with me, it's all about trust, and I would if an assistant said to me, this person has said this to me, I would solely back up my teammate on the line and say, right, what action would you like me to take? Are you happy then to back it up by reporting it? It follows that steps approach. At the same time, if they've turned around to the linesman and said, oh, he said this to me, right, that's fine. What do you want? Taking the yellow card for Dissent, that's fine. But I feel after thinking about it, no, actually, this is much more serious. I need to act higher on it than I will do.
I think for me, I can't remember the last time I saw a straight red for Dissent. So the decision was quite shocking.
Yeah. It all depends on what the player has said to the referee, because obviously at the end of the day, the only 2 people know what was said was the referee and the person who said it. Yeah. Unless there's loads of people crowding around in a mass confrontation. Knowing the referee from that game, he's one. I've worked with him a couple of times. I've been his assistant.
Okay.
And having the team talks we do before games, his way of doing it is much of, he doesn't take his tolerance level is, say, slightly lower than mine. But at the same time, he raises his to the standard of his assistants, and he sticks to that, which is a good way to go, because then you're across the board as a team of 3.
Yeah.
And hopefully the players know where you stand then.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, I just want to jump in with a few people's comments on here, if I may, Sheridan. I want to bring up a few people's what they're talking about, because I think it's important to kind of highlight it. Christian Appleford has put on here, the sim bins are a joke. Now, this is something where you're talking about the Dissent there, and it depends on who's refereeing, etc. I think this is what is causing a lot of frustration amongst players, officials, clubs, management, fans, whatever the case is that, as you said, is that because there is such a grey area to it, it's not, you don't get consistency. And it all depends on who is refereeing your game from one week to the next as to what you can get away with. And certain players know these referees inside out. They've been with them year on year on year on year. They know that if they say certain things to a certain referee, he's going to go, all right, mate, just calm it down. Don't let's just all cool off. The next week, that same thing that you say is going to get you a red card. And I just, that or a sim bin, if we ever see it being used, which that's the conversation for another day.
Quite nicely, James, because now going into the furlough non-leagues, we're seeing the step 4 referees step up. So is that non-experience with that group of players going to change that conversation and the way those games are run, because those players don't know how to manage the ref, and the ref isn't used to managing those players? Does that make sense?
Yeah, this season will be completely new, because obviously level 5s can now referee the Furlough First Division North and South.
Right.
Level 4s who used to do that can now referee in the Furlough Prem and be assisted by level 5s on the line. And then obviously the level 4s can then run the line on the Isthmian League.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian's put a point on here saying, I thought rules weren't down to interpretation. Rules are rules. How do you kind of answer back to that? Because, I mean, you're following what you're being told to follow, I suppose.
There are 17 laws that we as referees have created, Rule 18, which is known as common sense, which is usually used quite often. Does the game warrant it? Does the game at this point need it? It's more about managing the situation and trying to keep all 11 players from both teams on the pitch at the end of the day.
Right. Let's see if we can get a few more of your comments coming up on here. People are talking a lot about the abandoned games and how it kind of about it being replayed, etc. Depends on which kind of league you're in. SIL kind of goes off to a committee for them to decide. Yeah. Other leagues are slightly different on there. So you know that's that one thing. Colin raises a point to saying, in terms of the discussion we were talking about beforehand, why does COVID have to be the case? And let's just blame COVID. I mean, do you think potentially some people? I mean, the decision that was made the other night, do you think it kind of just hides behind that a little bit? I don't know. I don't want to put kind of words in your mouth, etc. But do you think that is potentially where someone can just go, well, we're kind of working towards this kind of timeline. If it doesn't fit in that, let's just kind of.
Yeah, but possibly it could be one of the main reasons what they're doing. Obviously, I highly doubt the referee has said, right, that's it because of COVID.
Yeah.
I would have thought he's really given it every chance to play out. I know if I was refereeing a game, I want to give it every game a chance to play. Yeah. I hate seeing it rain on a Saturday morning knowing full well I've potentially got no game in the afternoon. It's rather frustrating because I know I'm stuck with the kids and the missus in the afternoon.
I hope she's right in the room with you at the minute.
Oh, yeah, right here. That's fine.
Brilliant. We're getting quite a few comments about different referees and how you can kind of interact with certain referees, and certain people have a certain tolerance, etc. I'm not going to put everyone's comments up on it because there's been absolutely loads of comments on it. I suppose it goes back to what Christian's point on here. Each referee has their own version of how they kind of interpret it. So how are you told about these kind of things? Especially the sin bin. Obviously, I went along to one of those meetings at the beginning of the season about the sin bins, and I could not get my head kind of wrapped around it. And still, even to this point, I haven't seen it used enough in order for me to still kind of understand it.
Yeah.
So how do you, as a referee, how are you kind of informed about the changes that are happening to certain rules, etc.? Are you all kind of brought in for a meeting about it? Is it kind of all taken upon yourselves that you're the ones that have got to learn these kind of stuff now that you are kind of qualified, and it's down to you to kind of keep yourself up to date? How are those kind of things implemented?
Dan's most recent comment off the back of that, James, at the bottom, Dan Snell, because that links onto it as well. That one.
This one. So problem is, 1 week a player will get sin bin for dissent. The next week they say the same thing and they get sent off. Again, it kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier, though. That's what's frustrating. It's the inconsistency of the decisions that are being made. That's what we're all finding frustrating. I mean, official Westerfield just saying here, a zero tolerance on direct swearing and abuse to these guys. Without them, football wouldn't happen. I agree with that. I don't get as hyped up about referees as a lot of people do. I just want to see if there's a rule in place, I just want to see it being used. That's my thing, and that's where I get really frustrated about the sin bin side of things, because I just don't see it being used enough.
Yeah. Going back to your question about how we as referees update ourselves, it's a little bit of 50-50. It's a little bit of self-education in terms of the laws of the game. But at the start of every pre-season, we are sent out stuff from the referee development team at Suffolk FA, led by Alan Dale, who is a National League referee, who obviously has seen it all. He sort of helps us out in terms of guidance, in terms of seminars, obviously all done via Zoom this year for COVID restrictions. Over that time as well, over COVID, we got together, we had little Zoom chats about how referees are getting on in terms of interpreting the new laws, what they think about certain things. Then we look at clips of in-game scenarios, and we put our decisions across. I mean, then we talk about it. So we're a little bit more consistent. Obviously, it's not mandatory for everybody to attend, or people can't attend due to work lives or commitments they've got. But
that's interesting.
Encouraged to attend.
See, that for me is interesting. It's not mandatory for you to have to go along to these things. That's where I think sometimes these things fall down.
But it's mandatory to go to your AGM if you're a club, and you get fined if you don't.
Yeah. Obviously, the higher you go up in terms of your refereeing career, then it starts to be mandatory.
No, I think that's what people are going to be saying, though.
Yeah.
Discussions and open that can of worms. That's what people are going to say.
Yeah.
And it's not mandatory. Fair enough. But what the FA need to realise is people are going to have a problem with it if they're told that it is mandatory, that for the league they pile in on a meeting just to find out what's going on. I think it's hard. I think the only way everyone's going to be appeased by it all is if there's some big open forum where every single manager and every referee can all pile in together and constantly have this open dialogue, because it seems like you as referees are actually working to improve by having open dialogue via a forum. You've already spoken about how the Bury game has already been so widely spoken about in that arena. But I think what a lot of people feel is that referees can't be touched because you can't argue about decisions, you can't speak out later without you would actually get fined, or you'd bring the game into disrepute.
Well, I'm going to bring Vinny's comment up on here. I've kept Vinny very quiet on the screen here because a lot of things he's been putting up in the chat have not been things I can really put out on there. But he's put on here, the main issue is that the referees are untouchable in the eyes of Suffolk FA. If they make a mistake and you peel it to the Suffolk FA, they are nearly always on the side of the referees. So referees don't learn. How do you kind of respond to that if you can? I suppose
if you can't respond,
if you can't, then that's absolutely fine. I appreciate it's very difficult for you to be able to talk about certain things on here, but what kind of things are told and are talked to you on a week by week basis? Do you get these kind of feedbacks and things like that from your authorities and stuff?
We don't get all told about what happens in that appeal process for every referee, whether it's been found guilty or not guilty. The individual referee can find out from the disciplinary department, but it's not widely spread. It's not common knowledge to other referees as such, and referees don't often talk about them as much to each other in terms of saying, "Oh, watch out for this team," for example. We're not like that behind the clubs. It's more, we're open in terms of we go into each game trying not to look at where they are in the table, and making sure that we just referee the game in front of us rather than think about what could have happened with people that sat behind a desk arguing about whether this person did something or not.
Interesting. Let's just get a few more of your comments coming up, and then we're gonna wrap this part up on this part, Sheridan. So we've got Michael Crofer, who said, "I was at the Woodbridge game last Wednesday, played in terrible conditions. The ref had lost control of the game very early on, and you could see that as each minute went by, he was getting more and more frustrated." That's an interesting way of a fan looking at things from that particular game. Yeah, it's just, I thought it might be, that's an interesting point to bring up on here. Matthew says some referees are strict. Then you get some who are quite relaxed, which is very what we've been talking about on here. Craig Power has said, just help referees out and scrap the sin bins. Yellow and red cards have worked for years. I
agree.
I probably have to agree with that. It's just, why complicate things? It has complicated things a lot. Vinny's getting a lot of you're going to be in trouble, mate, in the comments section, but he's just said, I'm always in trouble. It's nothing new. Brilliant. Absolutely love it. On here, let's bring up a few more of your comments. On here, let's just see. Where have we got? Dan Pun, I was just saying, we need to get Irv on as well. He would be brilliant. He would be a great shout. Yeah, so I think we're going to wrap it up on there. We really appreciate you coming on and talking things through. Just, it's been nice to have that kind of conversation, just to understand things a little bit more from a referee's perspective. So really, thank you very much for agreeing to come on. And Adam,
for you coming on, like, I've had 6 other referees that have spoken to me about things but said they don't feel they're in the position to come on. Yeah. And so this is, like, you make the comments and stuff that you do, like in the comment section, everything else about how you feel like things have been interpreted, but to be able to get somebody on, I'd like massively appreciate it and respect you for coming on, and you've gone a bit further to explain some things to me that I maybe didn't understand as much, and I think I'll probably open my own eyes a little bit before shouting in the future.
This is the main thing, to be fair. A lot of, as I've found in refereeing, I've said, well, this is what I've given, this is the reason why. Oh, I didn't know that, ref. There's a lot of what I'm getting. But in the Premier League, I know the referees go out to the clubs and have seminars with the players, so they know where they stand, which would be quite useful maybe at lower league. But it's about
I've been invited by Essex FA to write a letter to them about referees and what could be done. So when I can compose myself, I'll craft something off the back of tonight. But I'm going to need to be quite intelligent about the way I write it, I think, to make it actually be continually constructive all the way through, because it isn't a case of battering the people who are the only ones that are absolutely needed to get the game on. You've got 2 sides of 11 players, but without officials, nothing's going to happen.
Are you sticking money in there before you send it off for your fine already? Or
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not affiliated to a club. I'll get it in quickly, so I don't have to risk it. So let's get that out of the way, and I'll make sure Vinny doesn't get time to do a little PS on the bottom of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, really appreciate you coming on, mate. Thank you very much for appearing on the show. It's been good to chat to you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Cheers, Sheridan.
No. Cheers. Interesting. Very, very interesting, Adam. I still see things from a fan's perspective. I get entirely about a lot of the points that were talked about.
Yeah.
And I don't, to be honest, I've said it before, I don't really have that much of an issue with the referees that I watch.
You're too soft, mate.
Sorry?
You're too soft. That's the problem.
Well, it's not that I'm too soft. It's just that I don't go to a football match to watch a referee's performance. I go to a football match to see two teams battling it out. If something happens during the game that's worth talking about, like a penalty incident or a sending off or a controversial decision, and then yeah, fair enough. But I don't go out of my way to go that foul wasn't a foul. That throw-in wasn't a throw-in. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Fair play, because there were a lot of comments coming in that were not the nicest. Let's put that out. We're not publishable, but fair play to him for coming on. I really, I respect him for coming on. So massive.
Your comments as well that you put on, some of them are actually genuinely constructive towards putting together something that I can get sent off as well.
Yeah,
and it gives me an idea of what people want.
Yeah.
As well. And let's not get things wrong. The Essex FA aren't going to change anything because of what I write, but you've still got to get yourself in people's heads so that they know how people are feeling, I think.
Yeah. Vinny's comment here: if you do change your mind about that PS, let me know. Let me know.
All right, mate.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Right. Let's get into some of the weekend's action and some of the
results, I think.
Sorry?
Super 6 first, bang in the middle of the show.
Yeah. Good point.
New sponsor as well.
Have you sent me the link, mate? I hope you have.
I've sent it to you in your emails.
Okay. This is where I need to do some editing behind the. Adam, talk to the people about Super 6. We're delighted to be able to say we have a new sponsor.
Yeah. So Atlas K9 Security have come on board to help us with the Super 6 competition. So the competition is going to be led by them. It's going to enable us to make sure that we can get a prize out to the winner and keep on running it, keep it going. So really, really appreciative for them. They're going to have their own message go out on Twitter that's going to sort of explain a bit more about what they do as well. That's coming this week. We've got a couple of things just to tie up, but huge thanks to Atlas K9.
I can give you a brief description of the company if you like, Adam.
Go for it, James.
So, operating 24/7, 365 days a year, offering static guards, dog handling, residential, mobile patrols, gate guarding, and office reception work. There you go. How do you like that, Apples?
Atlas K9. So we'll sort some stuff out with them. Thank you very much.
Definitely. So there's some big games on here this week. And we really, again, your response to everyone who has been getting involved in this, I don't think we kind of anticipated the numbers involved that people would actually get involved. It's been mental how many of you decided that you want to get in here and just have a bit of a laugh with it.
I've got 97 participants now. So
what?
Yeah, my spreadsheet's getting big. It's good fun to manage. And we've had a bit of a sort of shake up after some big points. I hit a big 8 this week. Which was like the top score. I was joint, however. Like performance of the week on Super 6 goes out to Ben Moore, who got 0 last week and hit a joint top score with me of 8 this week.
Brilliant.
Good lad. Anyway, the people are going to be wondering who's winning. So just a top sort of 3 places. Joint first place. We've now got Spreads, Tony Stone, and Tommy Smith has risen himself back up to the top. All joint on 17 points. Sean Watson then sits on his own in second on 15 points. And then on in third on 14 points. We've got Gavin. Shane Cauldron is still holding it up with a reasonable performance this week of 4 points, and Ben Froud. But this week we had people that were struggling a bit the week before, picking up sort of 5 or 6 points, and it moved them up a good few places. And we've got a couple of people we've played a couple of times that are a bit further down. So as we've got, I was speaking last night to someone, and I think the best thing to do is just get a few consistent weeks of people taking part, and then I'll probably list the top 25 people each week on a spreadsheet. I just need some consistency, because, for instance, someone took part in the first week and they're still 24th in the whole thing, and it's the only one they've done.
Wow.
They scored so highly on the first week.
That's impressive.
So, and for all of you that put in 25 nils, very few points were awarded.
Just a reminder, you get 1 point for predicting the correct result, and you get 3 points for the correct scoreline. We have had a few people, just to let everyone know, the link has been posted onto Facebook, YouTube, and for Twitter. Make sure you click that link. Go and get involved. Let's get it up to let's get it up to around 100 people involved in predicting the score lines for this one. Dan Barnard has said we missed the Cranes and Claydon game. We're trying to vary it up with the different teams that are on here. I don't want to see the same sort of teams on the spread, on the predictors every single time. So we are going to have some weeks where the Isthmian is not involved, because obviously we have a limited number of teams from our area in that particular division. So I just want to keep it fresh, keep the games that people can predict on just varied over the course of this over the course of the Super Six. Few people got a bit of love in for Tony on here, because he's obviously doing very, very well. Tony all the way.
This week, if there was a bookmakers open for the results, we would have absolutely taken them to the cleaners on the Needham result, because nearly everybody went 3-1 Needham.
Right.
Like, literally would have cleared them out. So so it's getting really interesting.
We've got a comment saying, what happens if the game gets abandoned?
Nil point.
Yeah, you tried to contest this, didn't you? I said no, doesn't count.
You're the law, James. So I didn't argue back.
I said if it doesn't count in real life, it doesn't count on this. That's my way of thinking. But yeah. So that's what happens on there. But so we've got Hitchin versus Leiston, we've got Bury versus Dereham, Wroxham versus Stowe, Lakenheath versus Mildenhall.
Battle of the bases, isn't it? Lakenheath versus Mildenhall.
Yeah, love it. Old Newton versus Westerfield, and Wickham Market versus Stowe Falcons. Again, link is available. We'll post it out after the show as well, and we'll have regular reminders throughout the week to get your predictions in before Saturday's games. If you want to get involved, have a little bit of fun against each other. Matthew's put on here, when is the whole list going out? As Adam said,
on a Google document. I've got so everyone will be able to see the whole thing. I will do that. It's just this is now, the admin on this is now 2 hours.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So yeah,
100%. So thank you again to Atlas K9 Security for sponsoring the Suffolk Super 6. And as I said, get involved. If you want to get your predictions in, we would love to have you on board. So let's move on, Adam, into some of the results from this week. You guys absolutely love this. And just to let everyone know, we now have league tables as well to show you. I haven't shown Adam the league tables and how I've presented it. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Share the link out now. Get people involved. Let's get the chat buzzing on these.
Yeah, 100%.
Last week was ridiculous.
Yeah. Again, Twitter, share the link, retweet the link for the show. Get it involved in the chat. I know that the moment the SIL pops up, Tattingstone go absolutely mental in the comment section, but let's get it for every single league. That's what we want to see. But if we start off with the Southern Premier Central results from midweek, a lot of interesting score lines on there. In particular, Needham Market and Lowestoft getting wins. Lowestoft beating Peterborough Sports 1-0, Needham Market winning 3-1 at home against Royston Town. But in an absolutely mental match that we didn't think was real the other night.
Yeah, we were laughing this off, weren't we?
Sorry?
We were laughing this match off, weren't we? We're like,
yeah,
what's going on?
We thought that somebody on Twitter was pulling a joke because Biggleswade 7, Leiston 4 is a mental result. And we didn't honestly think that it was true. We thought that somebody was pulling everyone's leg with that particular result. Can you imagine scoring 4 goals away from home and still losing? You'd be devastated. You'd be absolutely gutted.
Conceding 7 is the thing I'm more worried about, but yeah.
Yeah. No. I respect that, but I'm going to go with the positives. Has to be done. Matthew said there's some very interesting results in here. Yeah, there really is some interesting results. The weekend action, there was only 2 games in this particular division, but the big one from our area, it was the fact that Needham beat Lowestoft 3-1. Great result from that spot.
Don't they?
No, sorry, they won 4-2, didn't they?
No.
Was it?
It was 3-1.
It was 3-1
earlier in the week. It was 3-1.
It was 3-1. Yeah, there we go.
It's 4-2 the week before. That's why.
That's why I'm getting myself in the muddle. But as a result of the midweek games and the weekend's action, here is the current league table. If I just get our runner off the bottom there, we can see that after 3 games, Leiston are currently bottom with a -7 goal difference, but propping up top of the table, Needham Market after 4 games played, and Lowestoft in the playoffs as well. So very, 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 very impressive stuff.
Yeah, good on Needham.
I'm pleased. I know it's a very early point of the season, but it's very good to see both Needham and Lowestoft doing well. Let's just hope that Leiston can start picking up some results and drag themselves away from the bottom of the table. Matthew says Needham Market to win the league.
They're my tip to go up, but I don't know if they'll win the league. I definitely tip them to go up this season. Very, very strong. Ben Folkes is like literally out of the blocks. Unbelievable the start he's had there. He's come up 2 divisions, and it's like he could go up another 2.
I described him during the week, and Adam loved this comment. He's the type of bloke to score a hat-trick when it's only 2-0. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
He's absolutely phenomenal. But the week's fixtures from this division. So in terms of guys from our area, we've got Needham Market away against Hitchin on the Monday night. So that's tonight, actually.
That's cancelled.
Sorry?
That's cancelled.
Was it really?
Waterlogged pitch.
Gutted, absolutely gutted. So that result won't mean anything. Thanks very much, Adam. You could have told me that before we went live, mate.
Forgot, I've had a busy night.
We've got Leiston after their 3 defeats against AFC Rushden and Diamonds. That's a very, very tough fixture for those guys. And Lowestoft, after their impressive start to the season, are away at St Ives Town. And then on Saturday, we've got Needham away from home against Banbury United. We've got Leiston away from home against Hitchin, who themselves have struggled recently with 2 defeats in 2. And then the final fixture, it will pop to my eyes in a moment. Lowestoft away against Kings Lanley. So, any more of your comments on here? Yes, they do. They do have Darren Eady as their manager, although I think he's joint manager on that. What team was folks at before Needham? I'm
Norwich United.
Norwich United. There you go. I knew you would know that. Absolutely knew you would know that. Let's move on to the Isthmian North. We've obviously talked about the Bury-Witton game being abandoned. Unfortunately, as I put on there, they were 5-0 up when the game was abandoned. On the 83rd minute, due to fog, Durham beating Cambridge City 1-0. Felixstowe getting the bragging rights over AFC Sudbury 3-2. That's the big talking point from the midweek results, isn't it?
Yep, massive win. And they're loving a 90th minute goal at the minute.
Yeah, as is evident from the weekend results, where a 2-2 draw against Coggeshall, but that was a 90th minute equaliser, wasn't it?
Correct.
Which is just absolutely absolutely brilliant.
That was done without Tiger Smalls in the squad as well because he's injured. So still injury problems at Felixstowe, and they're still grinding the results out. You've got to love it.
Yeah, which is brilliant. Ben Moore is just saying, so and 1-0 win during the week. Get in, loves it. After the first few games on here, we can see that Felixstowe are just outside the playoffs. Obviously, it's very early on at this point.
What a difference a patch of COVID makes to Felixstowe after last season.
Yeah, definitely. Doing very well at the beginning of the season. Bury have yet to really play. Only had the one game, but they have got 100% records. But hopefully we can start, But that's the thing. If they'd had their victory actually count in midweek, they'd be in the playoffs right now after 2 games. So, it's they're doing very well to start.
They'd have been second in the league if they would have won.
Yeah, exactly.
And Whittam would have been in trouble.
Aren't they already?
Yeah.
Aren't they already? And then AFC Sudbury, 1 win from their 3 games, leaves them with 3 points in 14th place. The games during the week, again for the guys around our area.
So that DeeJam versus Histon game's the big one for me.
Yeah, that's a massive game. There's not really a huge amount in terms of the 3 teams in our neck of the woods, but that is a big game during the week. And then we have Sudbury away from home against Basildon United. Bury are at home against DeeJam Town, which looks like it could be an absolute cracker of a game. If I didn't have a game I was already going to, that would be one I would want to go and watch. And we've got Felix
selling out every week.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, they are.
They have done it right post-COVID.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And Felixstowe away from home against Malden and Tiptree, who have played 2 and drawn 2. So very interesting in terms of that. Tony Stone has just said, chuffed to be joined top with such an esteemed football guru as Fred.
The competition, mate. Take him on.
Ricky Coleman's got involved saying Needham with 55 minutes with 10 men of the weekend is a great result. And Ben Moore is predicting that Soham are going to win 3-1 on both times. He's obviously a big Soham fan. So moving on into the Furlough None Premier results from midweek. We had FC Clacton 5, Whitton 1, which again was another massive. Well, it was a shock result for a lot of people that we were standing around during the Debenham Ipswich Wanderers game. Galston 1, Norwich United 4, Haverhill Rovers 0, Stanway 4. The Thetford and Mildenhall game was abandoned due to fog. Wroxham 3, Kirkland Papefield 0, Gob Manchester 3, Ely 2, Walsham Willows 5, Newmarket 2, and the Woodbridge Stowmarket game was abandoned. Adam, very quickly, main result from that. Can you pick one out? There's a lot of big results in there.
Well, Walsham came back from being 2-0 down to win 5-2. A heck of a second half from them. I've already said previously, I swear, they were my team of the week this week, Walsham are. Clacton beat Whitton 5-1. There's other stuff behind that in terms of refereeing decisions and stuff like that, which I know about. Clacton are a good side. Okay, we probably expect it to be a bit narrower, but probably not. It's a bit harsh to say that's not result of the week because Whitton are very, very good this season. But for me, it's Walsham. Newmarket are buoyed by just signing David Cowley. And to be honest, Newmarket have got a decent defence, albeit they're not playing on their home ground and they're not picking up the wins away from home again.
Yeah, definitely. I think my result from all of that, Walsham and the Willows, as Dan says on here, were brilliant second half. They are a must watch. I know Newmarket people talk about their away form and whether what they're like compared to obviously being at home, etc. But that's an impressive victory.
Yeah,
really, really is. And again, Lee has put on here, Walsham are on fire. You are correct, sir. let's move on into the weekend's action then. We had Gold Manchester 2, Swaffham 2, Hadley United 2, Woodbridge Town 1. The Kirky and Pakefield versus FC Clacton game was postponed. Long Melford 0, Wroxham 4, Mildenhall Town 4, Galston 1, Norwich United 4, Newmarket 1, Stanway Rovers 4-2 winners against Whitton United. The Stowe Ely game was postponed, and Walsham the Willows picking up another victory, this time 4-0 at home against Haverhill Rovers. Again, standout result from that one, please.
You've got to start questioning why Haverhill are losing 4-0 every match. Got to be honest, slightly concerning and probably needs sorting out sooner rather than later. I'm sure things are going on behind the scenes to try and rectify things, but you can't go out and get smashed 4-0 every single week. It doesn't look great. Goal difference is already a problem for them. For me, Norwich United, Newmarket, that's the one. Norwich apparently performed incredibly well in that game. Galston got the money, got the players, haven't got the performances yet. What's going on?
That for me is, I'm not going to say a concern, but
That's not working, though, is it?
It's not quite clicking at the moment. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's not quite clicking.
Yeah.
I can't understand it. Why it's not. But my standout performance is a Stanway 4-2 victory against Whitton. It's good to see Stanway getting some wins. 2 wins during the week. I love it.
They'd had a difficult start. Swaffham have done well to draw Goddy as well. Manchester Rose are a difficult team to play. As Swaffham have played that well.
Yeah, definitely.
After a difficult start to the season.
But yes, you guys are right in the comments. Clacton not playing for 2 weeks due to positive COVID tests. Yes, you are 100% right on that part. Next game postponed due to COVID. Bournemouth Hadley have started so well. Really thought they would struggle this season. But
I think I called them out early on, saying I definitely thought they'd get relegated, and there's other teams that are doing plenty to make sure that doesn't happen, as well as Hadley. I think Woodbridge are in a difficult settling period at the moment, as things have changed over. They're not producing results yet, but they are a team where I think it will probably come together. Some of the other teams in the league I'm not so sure about that seem to be struggling. It's also been a hard start for Melford as well. But Wroxham's steamrolling everyone at the minute. Yeah,
definitely. Let's bring the league table up on the screen here. As you can see, Wroxham 6 wins out of 6, doing amazingly well. Really are doing amazingly well this season. Followed closely by Norwich United, but those 2 teams are starting to pull away. Obviously, it's very early days, and there's a lot of teams with games in hand. You look down the bottom, 7th, Bramford Athletic only play 4, but have not lost a game this season. Mildenhall and Stowmarket, again, both on 4 points, haven't lost a game this season. There's a lot of teams down the bottom there, Woodbridge, Long Melford, Thetford, that you're wanting them to get that first win, get the campaign going, and really kickstart things. Do you know what I mean? Because you just don't want to see it continue from a competitive standpoint, at least.
No, I mean, everything from sort of Galston downwards really is all a bit of a mismatch of results and stuff. It's a bit weird. Obviously, Thetford's a bit of an odd one out, but Galston, having played 7 times, picked up a couple of wins, but the last few times out hasn't worked. Yeah, definitely. The midweek game, there's only one, Ely City versus Swaffham. 2 teams that would love to get a win to kind of just get a little bit of momentum and a little bit of form developing after what has been Premier Cup, aren't they, I guess, and get another fixture in between those 2. That's going to be tight, though.
Yeah, definitely. Spencer said, I can see Bramford doing really well this season. They've had a decent FA Cup run as well. A bit of a dark horse kind of going under the radar a little bit, because obviously they haven't played as many league games as others. But yeah, definitely. There's absolutely no reason why they can't do really well. And then the weekend's action, we've got Bramford versus Long Melford, Ely versus Hadley, Clacton and Woodbridge, as we've quite rightly said, is postponed. Newmarket versus Kirkby and Patefield, Stanway versus God Manchester, Wroxham versus Stowe. Wroxham Stowe, as much as people may say it's purely biased from a Stowe perspective, but that's the standout game of the weekend, surely.
It is, and at the moment, I can't see much beyond a Wroxham win.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If I'm honest, like if you look back at what happened last season in the Vars, Wroxham, it just seems to have clicked for them.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up where they left off and are probably a bit stronger. It all depends on what happens in the day. On the day, like Tuesday night for Stowe is going to be really important, I think, in terms of getting themselves up and running. Even though it's a Premier Cup game, if they can get a win there and start to build a bit of momentum and try and get themselves back to form. But they're going to have Jack Ainsley and Dev both missing for suspension. So
yeah, definitely.
Ainsley, Dev are the two big players. Other than that, like
Newmarket versus Kirkley.
Yeah,
me, again,
get back at home, so good chance to pick up a win for them.
Yeah, definitely. After a good start for Kirkley, last 3 results haven't quite gone their way. So let's see if they can bounce back, obviously with their game earlier on being postponed. Let's move on to the Furlough None North, and then we are going to bring in our SIL, or my SIL sidekick for
the fixtures or not, James?
Sorry?
Have you got the Premier Cup fixtures?
They are on their way.
Oh, okay, fine.
Oh, ye of little faith. Ye of little faith, Adam.
I haven't seen the slides. Leave me alone.
Well, maybe if you came on earlier, you might have seen them.
Got my child.
Furlough None North, the game we were at, Debenham versus Ipswich Wanderers. Ipswich picking up a 3-1 victory. A game of 2 halves.
Yep.
Ipswich easily in control of the first half. Debenham much better in the second half. If they'd got a goal earlier on, that could have been a completely different finish to that game. But a good turnaround from Debenham. They learned from their mistakes at half time, corrected things and sorted things out, and bounced back. If you guys haven't seen the highlights, make sure you go and check out the channel after this so you can go and watch those.
Practically perfect from Wanderers first half.
Yeah.
And interacted well by Debenham second.
Definitely. Distown 2, Norwich CBS 1, Leyton Reserves 3, Framlingham 2, AFC Sudbury Reserves 1, Haverhill Borough 2, Wisbech 3, Kings Lynn Town 7. Another defeat for Wisbech. What is going on?
Yeah. They're scoring goals. I think they've scored 8 goals. Well, they've scored 8, there's 3 there. But I don't know what's happening with their defence, really. Yeah. They just love to concede goals. I don't know. Nothing's changed from last year.
No, definitely not. And then some of the other results from the weekend. We had Cornard 1, Fakenham 3, Debenham 3, Lakenheath 2. A great win for Debenham. Really impressive stuff from them. Distown 2, AFC Sudbury Reserves 2, Downham 3, Sheringham 1, Great Yarmouth 2, Framlingham 1, Ipswich 3, Kings Lynn Town Reserves 1, March Town 2, Mulbarton 1, and Norwich 6-0 away from home as Wisbech St Mary. Stand out for a result from that, Adam?
Well, I'd just like to reiterate what I said last week, that Norwich would 100% pick up their first 3 points.
Yeah.
This weekend, but 6-0, goodness me, battering.
Yeah.
That's a win and a half. That is.
Yeah, definitely.
But Debenham is huge.
Yeah, Debenham. Sean has said on there, huge win on Saturday for Debenham. Class from Debenham says, Dan, yeah, it's a very impressive win. And just gives you that bit of confidence I think the second half is probably from the Ipswich game has given them that belief that they can, do you know what I mean? Can compete, can go again, and just it's a very impressive win. It has to be said.
It's a really odd thing to say, but for me, Debenham looked so much better defensively when they attacked than when they tried to sit back and let the ball come onto them. A very, very weird way of saying it, but they got a lot more comfortable, and I have no doubt that they would have had a real go at Lakenheath, knowing Lakenheath's record, and it's paid again.
Yeah. Colin, come on, lads, speed up. I have to go to bed soon. You clearly haven't watched this show before, Colin. We're here for hours. This show never stops, mate. This show never stops. If you're waiting for the SIL, you're gonna have to postpone your bedtime a little bit longer, mate. You really, really are. League table wise, again, Ipswich Wanderers leading the way, followed very closely behind Lakenheath, which goes to show how big of a win that was for Debenham. Wisbech propping up the table, minus 23 goal difference already after 7 games. Worried for him is an understatement. But what is quite impressive is the fact that Leiston reserves and AFC Sudbury reserves are in 6th and 7th. I love that. Absolutely love it, because they, reserve teams at this level get a bit of stick for the fact that they're even at this level. But it just goes to show that they are performing and competing with some of the big clubs in that division. So I'm impressed by that. I like it.
It would not be an understatement to say all those teams have done in the past is prop that table up.
Yeah.
And now they're competing, getting good wins and making it interesting. And I love that.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Very interesting early on in the season to see how the table is kind of shaping out. I know Sheringham are going to be disappointed with the start that they've made, but again, they've only played 4 games, is that they've got a lot of time to turn that around. But yeah, I like it. Really, really like it. Midweek fixtures, we've got Fakenham versus Wisbech. That's got Fakenham win written all over that. Lakenheath versus AFC Sudbury reserves from the midweek. And then Saturday, we've got Sudbury reserves versus Framlingham, Haverhill versus Diss, Kings Lynn versus Leighton, so battle with the reserves, and Needham reserves against Wisbech St Mary. I suppose Haverhill versus Diss is probably the one I'm looking at. Haverhill picked up a win after after a tough start to the season. Diss have been on a good run themselves, actually.
I'd expect an away win for Diss from that, if I'm honest, knowing the strength of the two sides. But Haverhill, again, it's in their own backyard, so they could provide an upset and actually, again, a bit more upward trajectory after that other win. I don't know, like that Kings Lynn Town reserves versus Leiston reserves is a bit tasty, isn't it, though? Yeah,
definitely. Bourneville United reserves have said Debenham have helped Ipswich Wanderers out twice in a week.
Funny way of looking at it.
Yeah. It's an interesting way of looking at it. Dean has said Wanderers are strong and in last year's Senior Cup final tomorrow. Wanderers are a good side. Buckle's always going to have them strong. They were impressive in the game that we watched. It has to be said. They were very, very impressive. So let's move on into the SIL. And as I do that, I'm going to bring Alex into the stream. Welcome along, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Better than I was last week.
Yes, good man. It's good to get your thoughts and opinions on the SIL, just so that I'm not talking to myself, Adam. I'm calling you out. Let's go through the senior results first of all. Some big results this weekend. Achilles 1, Ransoms 5. Bennell 1, Hawley 0. Bilderston and East Burgolt playing out a Desmond 2-2. Claydon 3, Capel Plough 0. Henley losing 4-0 at home to Halesworth Town. Henley and Tony were very open and honest with their thoughts after the game on Twitter, and openly admitted the Halesworth were the better team on there. Leiston St Margaret's 1, Bourneville 3, Trimley Red Devils 0, Cobblestonians 2, Westerfield and Crane 1-1. Now, before everyone jumps on the Cops win and the Halesworth win, I think a massive shout out has to go to Westerfield for their 1-1 draw against Crane. Yeah. Massive result. That is from where they were last season to where they are now. It's a transformation, and I'm so happy to see them doing as well as they are. And I know we're very early doors.
They're proving what they said pre-season, that they think they've rebuilt it and want to turn it around, and they're showing it week in, week out. It's amazing.
It looks like they've rebuilt it the right way there as well. And I think obviously you've got to get a management team in there to buy into, the especially with a team struggling, getting in there and going, right, yeah, we can turn this around. We're getting the players in there and getting them to believe in it as well. And you can see that they do with the last few results that they've had. You know, it's a 1-1 draw against Crane. I say everyone's tipping Cranes to win the league.
Mm-hmm.
So that result, yeah, it's massive one in there.
Definitely. Let's get a few of your comments up on here. Good win to Halesworth. It was a very impressive win, and I'm not pushing it to one side by any stretch. I just think that Westerfield needed to have a shout out before everyone kind of gets onto the, you know, because it was a big result. It was a massive result. You know, going away to Henley is no easy task. And the damage was done at half time. Do you know what I mean? It was an emphatic win. And as Tony says, oh, is it that time? Time for bed. Nothing happened in the SIO anyway. Absolutely love it, Tony. Ransoms are a good side. Yeah, they've had a tough couple of weeks, but they've responded in the most emphatic way. That's a great victory for them. It has to be said.
Yeah. Especially where Achilles is always a hard place to go to. Even the last couple of seasons, not being funny, they weren't having a great season last season, but they were still difficult to go and play them there. So yeah, I think that was a really good result for Ransoms there.
Yeah, definitely. You're absolutely welcome, guys. I said I think it just deserves a shout out. So well done. A very, very good performance. Bournvale chucking in the controversial comments. Achilles to be relegated. Bournvale best club in IP. Every week.
Can we just give a quick shout out to Bilderston as well, because we doubted them, and then the last weeks
you doubted them.
No, you were like, oh, something's going on. Don't just pretend it was just me.
No, I said what was going on. I didn't say something's going on. I said what is going on.
You're sitting on the fence, my friend. Sitting on the fence. They're turning it around.
You two. I can't get involved. I'll leave it to you two.
Nah, you've got to break this up, mate.
It's always difficult. It's always easier to look outside in and go, oh, there's something going on there. Where, to be honest, we said this last week, there's probably just a couple of teams that are just not clicking yet. So it's early days. Yeah. You know, it's some sides are hitting the ground running. Some sides it might take 2 or 3 games to just get that click and going. It was very tentative over with the friendlies and stuff like that anyway, going into pre-season. So I don't know, maybe take a couple of league games, a couple of more high pressure games to get a team clicking. But 2-2 against Bergholt is a good result. We played their reserve side. They were a very good side as well. They're a good club. So that is a nice result there.
Yeah, definitely. Dean has said both penalties in the Westerfield versus Crane. Again, that's one of those I'm going to be watching the highlights after we finish here, because I do want to see how the play was before the penalties took place on here. Paul has said Westerfield beating Bournvale 3-1 really helped kickstart their season. 100% agree with you on that one. Ashton has said Adam Potter, great manager, turned Westerfield around. He's doing an amazing job there. Really, really is. 100% Potts is the top man.
For a quick chat next week or something.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, we would really love to have him. Tony said, "Great to see Potts doing well." There's a lot of love in for Westerfield on this on here. Yeah, it's been there's some interesting results from the weekend, and that is how the league table looks. A lot of teams on 3 games, a lot of teams on 4. We've got a few teams there on 5. It's a bit of a mixture in the division, but Halesworth are top at the moment on goal difference. Claydon have played 1 more game than them, but have lost 1 game. Trimley in 3rd. Bennell doing incredibly well after 4 games on 9 points. It's competitive, as I've said it would be. All it takes is for Crane to get a couple of good results, and they're right back up the table again and right in that mix. There's a lot of teams that are going to be competing up there. You look at Cops in 14, obviously you only play 3 games. But again, a couple of wins for them. They're right back in the mix. It's competitive, and I love it.
It's not going to be as one-sided as it was last season. No way.
That's proven already, isn't it?
Which is good for, as I say, good for the spectators that are going along to games. You know, sometimes when you go along and you see a side that knows going to win, it's a little bit, you know, oh, it's going to be a win here again. But when you're going, I say that game, Westerfield Cranes game, must have been a good game to watch. I don't know, obviously, I weren't there and I haven't looked at the highlights myself, but you know, it must have been a good game for the neutrals, I think, even though it was a 1-1 draw. But yeah, there's so many teams up there. So you look at Houseworth, the last few seasons that they've had a very good few seasons now, and they've just, as a club, have hit the ground running big time. Yeah,
definitely. As Alex said, early days, but liking the fact the league is absolutely wide open. Dan Barnard simply says up the Claydon. Sean, last season never happened. Question mark. How have you not mentioned Bourne Vale? They're doing well. They're in 5th. I can't mention every team, but yeah, they are doing well, as are a lot of teams in there. Do you know what I mean? As I said, it's good to see as many teams up there competing as possible. That's what we want. We want, you know, as Alex quite rightly said, we don't want it to be a one-horse race and everyone knowing how the league's going to go. This is the perfect scenario. All we need now is a Houseworth defeat, and we've really got things wide open. I'm just joking.
Houseworth defeating a couple of wins for Leicester and St Margaret's.
Yeah, definitely, and the league gets blown wide open. But the weekend's action coming up for you: we've got Bilderston versus Capel Plough, Bourne Vale versus Cops, Crane versus Claydon, which just that's going to be a tasty old game. East Bergholt versus Achilles, Houseworth versus Bennell, which again, just that's mouth-watering. Old Newton versus Westerfield, which is one of our Super 6 games. Ransoms versus Leyton St Margaret's, and Trimley versus Henley. Henley going to want to bounce back after that defeat on the weekend, as are Trimley. There's some Bourne Vale versus Cops is a massive game as well. I love it. Cops obviously got their season up and running on the weekend, which is great. But Bourne Vale is going to be a tough game. There's some brilliant fixtures in this weekend. Really, really is.
Capel Plough struggling a bit as well. Bilderston will be hoping to build again and actually by that point really begin to put the early season form behind them.
Yeah.
The Bergholt Achilles game. It's once again, it's me looking at obviously knowing Dean and knowing how he'll want to bounce back from the result of this weekend.
Yeah.
Going there, I think that'll be quite a good game to watch. Houseworth Bennell, very, very interesting. I don't know.
Bennell, from what I've seen, are a good side. I've yet to see Houseworth this season, but yeah, if form's anything to go by and what I've seen from Bennell already, that looks on paper to be a cracking game. But as I said, so does Crane versus Claydon. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of big games this weekend, and we can't wait to see what happens.
Ticket, isn't it? Really,
definitely a lot of games for a neutral to plenty to choose from. I think you could pick any one of those games and be in for a great game. This weekend is set up perfectly. Paul has chucked in some optimism from Achilles, saying first win for Achilles incoming this weekend. So let's move on into Div 1 and the results from the weekend. Bedricks versus Coddenham was postponed. Southwold 3-1 victory at home against Stanton, and from what I'm told, Stanton have got a very sort of young side out on there, but Southwold are a very impressive unit from what I've been told. So it's a good win for them. Sporting beating Grunsborough 4-1. Tattingstone again, just another impressive win, 4-0 against AFC Kesgrave. The Wen Hastings versus Barham game was postponed, and Wickham 3, Bacton 2. I can already see there's loads of comments, and I don't even need to read them. I know who they're from. Tattingstone 4-0 victory again this weekend.
There's a buzz in that camp, isn't there?
100%. Here we go. Up a tat. Check out Tattenstone's deadline day post. I'll do that in a moment. You guys chat. Let me bring up Tattenstone's tweet. Adam, first of all, your standout, and then we'll go to yourself, Alex.
Yeah, I think Sporting are like going for it now. Like you can see, they're putting that result. They had a disappointing result a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
putting that behind them and really going for it. Like for me, it's a shame the weather killed a couple of them games. If I'm honest, like the 2 games that are off would have been decent as well. Yeah. Like they would have again made quite a. I don't know, this actual division. I was looking forward to all these games getting on and seeing what it did to the table. So it's a shame to lose a couple of them, but I'm kind of expecting wins for Tat already because they've started so strong. But I think it's good that Sporting are starting to build that run up.
I'm just watching the video online from Tattingstone. I can't listen to it, but I can see that they've got Sky Sports deadline day banners all around the video. I can't wait to watch that. It looks absolutely superb. Brilliant work from you guys. A lot of love for Tattenstone. Up a tat in the chat. Darty Games says Division 1 is between Tat and Bedricks, just like it has been for the past 2 seasons. Alex, would you agree with that?
Yeah. Well, Sporting is. I said this last week. Sporting, I think, feel a little bit aggrieved. I know it's mentioned in last season again, but with what happened last season, and they were looking for promotion then. So yeah, they're looking to be up there. Bedricks, so I said last week, they come into the league and they've hit the ground running. I think it will be Bedricks. That
would have been a great game against Coddenham. It's so annoying. Coddenham
have always been one of those sides that always, I think I've noticed, they always pull it out on the bigger games.
Yeah,
they always pull it out on the bigger games. It's a very tough place to go to and play at.
Just when you think they're struggling, they pull out a massive result, don't they? Do you know what I mean? They're one of those sort of sides. They just never know when they're down.
Yeah. I think one of the games, say you went to last season at Coddenham, obviously Ransoms. Ransoms were flying, scoring lots of goals, and they held them to, I think it was a 1-1 draw. I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
And that was a big result for them. But yeah, you're right. I still think Tattenstone will probably win it, and it's going to be close between Sporting and Bedricks for second, I think.
Well, Paris has got involved on there and said, I think people get carried away with social media regarding Tattenstone. Sporting to win it and Wickham in second. I think people are starting to forget about Wickham a little bit, but obviously one of the pre-season favourites before a ball had been kicked. We can't forget about them.
No, you can't. It's with Wickham, I know it's difficult, and you do find it difficult because you've got to go on previous things sometimes as well. Wickham have always been a very strong side, but sometimes those results where they probably should win, they sometimes pick up a draw instead of a win. And sometimes it can affect their season. Hopefully for them that it doesn't happen this season, and they're able to be up there as well. I'm just kind of looking at probably kind of confidence as well. I was at Tattenstone years ago. It's a club that has grown quite massively over the last couple of seasons. And I think social media does hype it up, but then, as was discussed earlier, that's what you're looking to do.
I think that proves the point, doesn't it? You get people behind them. You get this when you've got this big hype train on a club. Like every week here, when we get to Tattenstone, it brings it in the comments.
Yeah, it goes
exposure again. It's decent.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe as the point on the screen says, if you'd seen them play, you would agree. I haven't seen them yet this season. They are on my to-do list. But yeah, they are one of the teams I'm most looking forward to seeing. League table wise, after again. Look at Barham down in 11th, only played the 1 game, so it's very hard to kind of say how the season is kind of going. It's a bit all mismatched in this division, but Tattenstone leading the way, Sporting in second place, Wickham in third. Southwold just calmly going about their business, flying under the radar in fourth, and Bevericks, who have only played the 2 games but are still on 100% record, are in 5th place. Very, again, good to see a good cluster of teams at the top. That's what we want to see. Don't want it to be, just as simple as this person is first, this person is second. This is exactly what we want. Perfect.
Yeah. We're going to have to do another pre-season if they don't start getting some games in.
Brilliant. And due to the fact that the Junior Cup is on, there is only one game in Div 1 for this weekend, which is Wickham Market at home against Stowe Falcons. So moving into Div 2, the results from the weekend, we had Brentford Road Old Boys 1, Somersham 1. The Elmswell and AFC Yorkshire's game was abandoned due to an injury to the AFC Yorkshire's player, and I really wish him all the best. And ambulance, I believe, was called out. Sorry?
I haven't heard an update on that at all.
No, I don't think I have either. But I believe an ambulance was called out to that game. So I wish the lad all the best in terms of his recovery. Ipswich Athletic 1, Ufford Sports 3. Good to see Ufford getting a victory after what has been, on paper, a very tough start for them. Melton United 1, Cockfield 4. So after the cup success during the week, back down to reality in terms of league action for Melton. Stonham Aspel 3, Sax Munden 4, and Thurston 0, Wolverstone United 3. Again, some big results in there, lads. Talk to me.
It's not going for Stonham yet, is it?
No.
At all.
Such a shame with Stonham.
Yeah.
Such a shame, because I don't know if either of you have you ever been over to Stonham at all?
No, not yet.
So I've been over a couple of times managing wise, and the club is going places, and I know they've put in for a new changing room facilities and bar and everything like that, and it's always been a very quite close club. I know a few players that have played over there, and it's a shame at the moment. I'd like to see them start clicking.
Yeah.
It's a very nice, very, very nice club. I know they had a bit of difficulties last season because I think their reserves folded last season. Obviously, we don't know everything that goes on behind closed doors, but it would be nice to see them pick up a few points.
Just get a couple of points in the bag and let them start the season.
Yeah, definitely. Ricky Coleman says Div 2 is so unpredictable. Darty Game saying surprised to see Brentford Road Old Boys not picking up some victories. Vinny, again, Cockfield, these are not real places. That's in reference to his beverage.
Vinny, I don't know where half these places are, let alone that the teams exist.
Cockfield is a very that's an interesting place to go and play football.
Yeah,
but it's like right in the middle of the village, and there's like a road that goes all the way around it. It's very open. Some of these places you go to are quite interesting.
But just as the league table goes to show on here, it backs up the point that was made a moment ago, the fact that the league is so wide open. No one other than Wolverstone have really kind of grabbing this league by the scruff of the neck. There's been a lot of games and results that have kind of gone all over the place. Melton in 6, 2 wins, 2 losses. Brentford Road Old Boys, 1 win, 2 draws, 1 defeat. Ipswich Athletic, 1-1-2.
It's all like very mid-table form, isn't it?
For a lot of teams, yeah. A lot of teams. And obviously Elmswell down in 9th, only played the 1 game, but 100% record. But yeah, it's interesting. I love it.
I don't know if some of these teams have kind of gone into this season still kind of basing from last. Obviously Melton was doing well last season. They were on a flyer. Obviously AFC Yorkshire, people were expecting them to do quite good this season, and doing too bad. As I say, it's only 3 games in for them.
I don't know what the score was against Elmswell when that got actually suspended or abandoned or whatever they're calling it.
I don't know what the score was up to that point.
No, up to that point, but that would have been like in the grand scheme of the league and where things are, it would have been a genuinely interesting result.
Yeah. I say good to see Ufford pick up 3 points.
Yep.
I don't know if it was that game. I may be wrong. No, I'm going to keep that to myself because I might be wrong on that. So I don't want to give out false information. It was either Athletic or Exiles. I believe. I think the keeper got injured during the game, but I can't remember if it was Exiles or Athletic. So
I believe it was Exiles.
It was Exiles, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you just said it was 0-0 at the time, and they'd had a pen. So yeah.
So the fixtures coming up on this for this weekend. There's only 3. Bramford Old All Boys against Curtin Athletic, Thurston versus Stonham Aspel, which both teams are absolutely desperate for a victory. That for me is a big game. And Ufford versus Saxmundham rounds things off in Div 2. Div 3. These are the final. Oh, we've got a couple of other slides after the SIL because I know Adam's going to jump on that before we leave. Aldborough 1, Unity 3, Bardwell 6, Wortham 3, Bramford United 5-2 victory against Ockhold. Great Blakenham Checkers 1, Stage 3, Hope Church 5, AFC Wanderers 1, Ipswich Exiles 0, Winsham Wasp 2, and Kesgrave Kestrels 3, Laxfield 1. Some big results.
Yeah, on Saturday, were there?
Sorry?
Not many goals in that league on Saturday.
No, not many. It's a bit of a bit quiet. This league.
A few important wins in there. Very Stage being one. We had a friendly against Stage pre-season. They've got a very good side there. Mark's got a very good side there. And the results haven't been kind of going their way. They've been picking up draws. So for them to get a win, it was really good to see. The Hope Church AFC Wanderers one was a bit of a when I saw that.
Yeah.
Hope Church, one of those ones you don't know what kind of side you're going to get when you play against them.
Yeah. That's a fair comment.
Looks of it.
It's not no disrespect to Hope Church, but I played them in a couple of seasons ago, and even in that game, first half was completely different to the second half. It was just, and you could see throughout the seasons because I'll try and keep an eye on all leagues. It helps me out if we get cup games and stuff like that, but try and keep an eye on all teams, and you can see how much they'd have a really good result one week, and then they'll get a draw, and they'll get a loss, and then it was very a mixture of results, never really consistent, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Vinny, I know what you're talking about. Ipswich, the Exiles game was crazy. Red cards and a lot of incidents happened during that game. I'd like to know the full ins and outs of what happened in that game before we kind of comment too much on here. But I know what you're talking about. But as I said, we'll find out more in the coming weeks, I would have thought. The Bramford Express is rolling on, says Jack. And as we look at the league table, 4 wins from 4, a plus 21 goal difference already. Unity very close behind them, and you can see the rest of the chasing pack on there. It's just Aldborough who have yet to collect a point this season, 4 defeats from 4. But again, very much like Div 2, a lot of teams in that mid-table form yet to kind of really start building up any sort of momentum. It's been a bit hit and miss from a lot of teams in this division.
I think a lot of the sides kind of gone into it knowing that they're kind of playing for second. So right. I think
that's interesting.
A lot of people looked at the signings begin pre-season, and then obviously the pre-season friendlies that Bramford had, and obviously the last few results that they've had, kind of understand that they're playing for second, but second is still promotion at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I think you'll start seeing the more stronger sides, the more established sides kind of pulling away from a few of the others.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-season time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Let's look at the weekend's results. Fixtures rather. So we've got Aldborough at home against Bardwell Sports, Bramford versus Stage, Great Blakenham versus Wortham, Hope Church versus Laxfield, Ipswich Exiles versus Ockhold, and Kesgrave Kestrels versus Unity. The Kesgrave game in particular, I'm looking at as one that
got to be excited for that now.
Yeah, one that looks pretty good on paper. let's go on into a couple of the other fixtures now, moving away from the SIL. We've got the Suffolk Premier Cup during the week. Bramford versus Felixstowe, Hadley versus AFC Sudbury, Lowestoft versus Mildenhall. I couldn't get a definitive date on that from any sort of website, but apparently it is on the list of games to be played. Whitton United versus Stowmarket, which is the game we will be watching, Adam, which is the one we are going to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that.
Incoming match day experience.
100%. Woodbridge versus Haverhill has been called off. Walsham with Willows versus Ipswich Town 11. Long Melford versus Kirkley and Pakefield.
I bet Woodbridge are flipping gutted about that being called off, because the form that Haverhill are in right now and the form that Woodbridge have been in, that would have been a great opportunity, I think, for them to get going.
Do we know why it's called off?
I can't find a reason.
Which one's that, sorry?
The
Haverhill one. Woodbridge Haverhill.
No, all Woodbridge have said on Twitter is that it's been postponed at the request of Haverhill. Not entirely sure why, but they've said that their next two games are not going ahead because of the two clubs that are playing have asked for it to be cancelled. So what the Haverhill reason is, I'm not entirely sure. But that is what they've put out on Twitter. So who knows?
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is because we actually have their reserves in 2 weeks.
Apparently, the reserves are fine.
Right. Okay.
From what I've seen, I don't know if I can confirm that or not, but apparently that is the reason why. And then I'm just going to bring up one more slide, and then we're going to wrap things up because there is another set of games to be played this weekend. Bear with me just 2 moments whilst I bring that slide up. It's just, there we go. So, FA Vars second round qualifying, we've got Galston versus Downham, Lakenheath versus Mildenhall, Sheringham versus Walsham, Swaffham versus Fakenham, Thetford versus Norwich United, Whitton versus White, Great Yarmouth versus Mulbarton, Ipswich Wanderers versus London Colney, March versus Norwich CBS, New Salames versus Cornard, and West Essex versus Haverhill. Some very, very, very tasty games in amongst there. For Thetford, I suppose they'll be looking at it as a bit of a free hit. I know it's against Norwich United, but it's away from the league. Why not just go out there, see what you can do, have a little bit of fun?
They need to do something different, don't they?
True.
To be honest. Walsham will be looking at this, like licking their lips, thinking the form that Sheringham have been on. Like, if you look at how they were last season compared to now, completely a different side. Walsham have been going well. Walsham would be wanting to get that prize money in their pocket after the unfortunate incident that led to them being kicked out of the FA Cup, like with the COVID before. So good opportunity for them to get some money in their pockets.
Yeah.
I think other ones that are sort of that stand out, like for me, Whitton would like to progress again. They've got a lot of fixtures this month. I think Whitton are playing 8 games this month, but good opportunity, and it would be great to get Yarmouth pushing on, but Mulbarton, that's a hard game.
Yeah. But yeah, so go on, Alex.
No, it's obviously I don't really talk about furlough too much, but that Cornard, the last few seasons have gone from a side that's not really been spoken about too much to kind of pushing themselves up there. So I think they'd be looking for a decent cup run at least. Obviously, we were talking about social media and stuff like that. They've jumped on the bandwagon on that one as well and doing quite a bit over there social media wise. But the club looks like look like they want to go more places than where they have been.
Yeah, definitely. But yes, that is going to round up tonight's show. It's been a very interesting chat. Just get rid of Adam's comment on there. It's been a very, very interesting chat, Alex. I really appreciate you coming on for the SIL portion of the show. Really appreciate it, mate, as always.
Yeah, cheers for bailing me out on some of the SIL stuff, Alex.
Nice one. So, Adam, thanks again once again, mate, for a good show. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thanks for most people in the comment section for keeping it clean. 1 or 2 people kind of going a little bit OTT.
A couple of people. So yeah. Like thanks for like doing the referee session in a constructive manner as well.
Yeah.
For those that are still here. I know like how frustrated we all are like at decisions and stuff. But I think it's just important to get people from all aspects of the game to come on and have their say. And whatever's said, I appreciate him for having the balls and the nerve to come on and speak out about decisions, because
definitely
the FA are not overly open to people doing it. When we ran our podcast, we got somebody on who's a higher level referee, and he couldn't even speak to us until he got granted permission from the FA to even have a conversation with us. And if you think the hoops they have to jump through just to chat to us publicly, like they are protected, but they have to look after the game. So we need to give them respect as much as we can, like no matter how much we disagree with things. Like
definitely. No. No, I do not.
You're not going to the Wanderers Cup final?
No, I'm not. No, I'm 100% not. So thank you very much, guys, for once again being part of the show. We really appreciate everybody getting involved in the comment section. Thank you very much to our two new sponsors, GBS, Starling and Locke as well, and also to Atlas K9 as well for sponsoring the Super 6. Again, get involved in the Super 6, guys. I'll put the link for that over on Twitter and all of our social medias, etc., for future, so for you guys can get involved in that. But yeah, it's been a really good show. Thanks again, Adam, for joining me. We will be back next Monday live 8:30, the only show on YouTube for Suffolk non-league football. But until next time, as always, until we see each other next Monday, and for the matchday experiences as well, we've got 2 coming up. I don't know why I pointed 1. We've got 2 coming up. We are off to Witton United versus Stowmarket tomorrow night, which is going to promise to be a very, very good game. But on Saturday, I am going to be watching 2 clubs in the SIL. I will reveal more.
My first SIL trip then, mate.
Sorry?
You can take me on my first SIL trip and I'll come with you. I'm free. I'm available.
Good man. Good man. Get involved in the SIL, Adam. It's a good league to follow. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate you guys being in here. Everyone who got involved in the chat. Thank you very much for watching. But until next time, as always, adios.